Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lifecycle Institute's webinar today on e-learning. All e-learning is not created equal, how to choose the right e-learning program for your organization. My name is Tara Denton, and I'm going to be your host today. You might have seen my name in the chat window there to the right of your screen. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I have been designing and delivering formal and informal learning programs and events for about 10 years. I've worked with large Fortune 500 companies and smaller companies, entrepreneurial ships, to try to help them build their learning programs. So what is today's session about? Today's session is about one of my favorite topics now, which is e-learning. With the launch of the Lifecycle E-Institute, we have started, or we have continued actually, designing our results-driven programs in the virtual classroom. So today, I want to discuss the perception of online learning out there and some helpful ways to pick the right online program for you. Here are our learning objectives for the sessions. We are going to talk about some of the preconceptions people have about e-learning. We will discuss some questions that are going to help you determine if an online program is right for you. We are going to recall the 4 principles of learning through an exercise, and then we're going to define learning objectives. Learning objectives in the Lifecycle Institute are the cornerstone of all of our learning programs. So it's really important that we want you guys to be able to truly define what a learning objective is. Now, I like to have fun while learning. So I want you guys to have some fun during this session and maybe even introduce a little competitive elements during our webinar today. First thing I want to do, because we're going to use this during the session, is ask you guys to look at your chat window over here, which is on the right panel of your screen. Now, I would like for you guys to select in the Send To box, select all participants, and right underneath the Send To box, I want you to chat a hello to everybody in the session so we can get a sense of how many people are out there joining us today and try to create a nice little learning community. So if everybody will just chat a hello to all participants. Thank you, Catherine and Dan. It's nice to hear hello from you guys to the rest of the team. So, it will be fun if everybody else wants to interact a little bit there. Then we're going to move on to our next interactive element, which is going to be our annotation tools. So while you guys are chatting to everybody, I'm actually going to allow the attendees to annotate on this whiteboard. Now, I'd like for you to click on the T annotation tool, which is right there on the top of that whiteboard, and select whatever color you'd like to type in, which is about 4 rows down, 4 little tools down, and then click on the whiteboard and type a hello to everyone. You can also write your name, you can write your favorite joke, you can type whatever you want, because we are going to be using these whiteboards during some interactive activities here in our virtual classroom for today. I won't see any text until you have clicked your mouse. So you'll use the keyboard to type in words or phrases, and then when you click on the mouse, I'll see it. Great, this is great. I'm glad you guys are participating. Now, you can also use the highlighter, which is a really fun one. Hey, who did that? I'm just kidding, that was actually me. Feel free to choose the marker and draw something fun and interesting because that's another one of the interactive tools. You can make a mess on the screen. I would enjoy it, actually, to see some really artistic endeavors. Looks like somebody picked up the pencil, too. So these are some of the tools that people can use online to create interactive experiences. All right, you guys have definitely had enough fun there. I'm going to take away your annotation rights, but don't worry. You will be able to use these again very soon. But right now, back to the serious stuff. Is e-learning effective learning? I'm going to open up a poll for you guys right now because I would like to learn a little bit more about the experience you're bringing to this session. Have you ever participated in an online class? So the polls should be open. If you guys will go ahead and answer that question for me. I want to see what kind of prior knowledge I'm dealing with here. Okay, I think we're going to give you guys just another few seconds to answer that question. And it looks like, I'll ask Stacy to show those results whenever they come up, but it looks like we've got almost a 60-40 split. It looks like we've got quite a few who have attended an online learning experience. Now I would like for you guys, I'm going to give you guys the annotation rights again. I want you guys to select the T, and I want you to choose a place on that whiteboard. I'd like for you to type a one word or phrase that describes your e-learning experience. If you haven't, if you're one of those 30 to 40% who have never sat in on an e-learning course, I'd like for you to list one opinion you have or one preconceived notion you have about e-learning. Wow, okay, MBA generic, very positive. I'm really glad to see that. Excellent. I'm especially glad to see that. Boring. Now, I've seen boring on there twice, and I can tell you that we're going to address that boring opinion in this session. A lot of times e-learning is boring because it's not active. That is one of the cornerstones. That's one of the principles of adult learning, is that there be activity, that it be an active session, and that it be relevant. So if there's no reason, if you don't even know why you're in the class, or if the facilitator or the design of the class has not somehow made the class attractive to you and made you do something active in it, it's going to be boring. Easy to get distracted. Of course, we have so much going on. That's why, again, it's really important to have a lot of activities. Isolated. That's a really interesting one too. I think that is a big reason why you need to create a learning community. Try to do group activities online, and also have a little bit of that social connection. So I'm going to go ahead and close you guys out there, because I think that you answered a lot of questions that I had about what you guys thought about online learning. And I think the session is going to be right on target for you guys. So some connections to what you guys wrote on that whiteboard, some misconceptions that people have about e-learning, or some poor experiences they've had about e-learning. E-learning is course in a can format. That was that generic comment that someone wrote on the whiteboard. Doesn't allow interaction. That was that, it's kind of impersonal. You kind of feel isolated. Or doesn't allow social learning. It's not active, so it's really boring. So it looks like you guys have had some similar experiences as most of the people I've run into. Now, in this month's Impact article that I wrote called Can E-Learning Be Effective Learning, I explored some similar arguments and how you can actually meet the challenges that some of these arguments put up against your e-learning program. These were three of the main arguments that I rebutted against in the article, and I tried to describe how you can meet and overcome these challenges with good design and flexible facilitation that uses online best practices. These are all reasons to be concerned about the quality of your e-learning program, and you want to ensure that before you sign up for an online course that it's going to provide the opportunity to change behavior or provide tools to help you implement your new learning on the job. Now, there are lots of ways to address these concerns in the virtual classroom. I talk about a few in the article, but it really boils down to spending time investigating the program you choose for your organization or for your individual professional development. You need to find the purpose and the design that meets those needs. Now, two shortfalls that plague online programs are the failure to be focused on a targeted goal and a lack of design centered around actually how people learn. This quote here that I've put on the slide for you, it's by Nanette Miner, and it's very poignant. If the purpose of the training design is done effectively, the vehicle or the delivery vehicle is unimportant. And this quote opens the door to two basic elements of effective training design that produces behavior change: adult learning principles and learning objectives. Okay, if you don't take anything away from this session, I want you to take away these two questions. I want you to write these down or paraphrase them, but take this away from this session. 2 questions we can ask to help define if an online program will be effective. Do the learning objectives meet the needs of my company? And is the course design participant-centered? What that means is, are the principles of adult learning threaded throughout the course? And we're going to take a closer look at each of these 2 questions, at the elements of these 2 questions, to discover how we can purchase training that will provide a return on our time investment. So the first question is, what do I mean by learning objectives? Now, in the participant window, actually I just had someone say that there was no sound. Andre from South Africa, you need to call in to, Stacy, if you could privately chat to Andre Kim that he needs to call into the number, because I want everyone to be able to hear this presentation. Anyway, back to the class. Under the panelist window, or panelist screen, which should be up to the top of the right hand of your screen, you should see a raised hand. If you know what a learning objective is, or if you think you have a good definition for a learning objective, how about you raise that hand for me right now so I can see it, because I'm probably going to call on you. Okay, Nicole Singleton. Nicole, I'd like for you to go ahead and chat in. Now, make sure that you've selected all participants in the chat box. Why don't you chat to all participants what your definition of a learning objective is? Don't be afraid. A measurable goal of what you want to achieve. Wow, that is a really good. Everybody look in the chat panel there to your right. Nicole, I think maybe Nicole and I might have worked together before. Maybe she's been in a Life Cycle Institute class. A measurable goal of what you want to achieve through learning. So a learning objective is going to answer the question, after the training, I will be able to. It has to include a verb of what the participant will be able to do as a result of the training. Now, we could do an entire webinar on learning objectives, but for the purpose of this session, the learning objectives of a program under consideration for your company should be clearly written and meet a training need and meet it measurably, as Nicole just said. Have some measurable goals. Normally, the training needs of your company are focused on a performance shortfall that when that performance shortfall is improved, you will see business benefits come to your company. So if the objectives of training don't meet the specific needs of your company, then it's unlikely to bring the results that you need. So I'm going to open up another poll for everybody, and this poll is going to be about learning objectives. I actually want you to choose which learning objective you believe is more effective. And there are 2 choices there, either A or B. So one of them is specific, it's measurable, it contains a verb that you can actually measure, and one of them is kind of generic, not really clear. Wow, okay, if we have those results in, I think we're just going to wait a few more seconds. But from my preliminary results, I think everybody got it right. So you guys are pros. Okay, that is a very helpful sign. If you have trouble defining what sort of training that you need, or if you're getting lost in the objectives that you see published by training providers, you can perform a needs analysis that are going to help you determine where the gaps are. This can be done, this needs analysis can be done with help from your HR department, or you can outsource the work with learning consultants that can provide whatever level of detailed analysis and the recommendations you need. So once you know what you're looking for in terms of what's being taught, next you need to make a judgment on how it's being taught online. So the how it's being taught is the next section of our piece. It's the next piece to the puzzle. It's incorporating the principles of adult learning as postulated by Malcolm Knowles. So, of course, since I told you I like to have fun with learning, I've developed a word scrambler. Now, I gave you guys a couple of hints as to what the 4 principles of learning were earlier when we were discussing the whiteboard, and I said how, oh yeah, if it's boring, that's probably because it doesn't include this element of the 4 principles of learning. What I'd like for you guys to do is guess what these 4 principles are. I'm going to introduce them one at a time, and yes, the words are scrambled. How you can guess that is by going ahead into chat, and Alan Wood just got it. Alan Wood is our winner for the first one. It is active, and he sent that to all participants, so you can see that too. The second principle of learning that we're going to talk about is a really difficult scrambler. So what this one relates to is that it needs to be important, and you need to understand right away what is being taught. Monica, you got it. Relevant. Wow, you guys are on it today. I'm so impressed with my learning gurus on the webinar with me. Here is number 3. This adult learning principle, and actually I need to go ahead and I'm going to write these for you so you know these if you're taking notes at home. The third principle, Tom completely stole my thunder, self-directed. Now what that means is that the participants have a choice, that you as a facilitator and that your design is allowing the participants to take control of their learning. I think I'm allowing you guys to have a little bit of self-direction here by choosing which ones you answer, which word scramble you decide to figure out and text in to our all participants chat. I'm sorry, I forgot. Alan Wood, you also got the self-directed right. Okay, here's the last one. This last one I talked about as well when we were doing the whiteboard exercise. It is the experience you come into the class with. It is the background. It is your, and Alan and Tom both got this. I'm going to have to, have a conference with you guys after this session. Did you see my script before? No, that was really great. Those are the 4 principles of learning. So if you respect and honor the prior knowledge of your participants, if you respect the fact that people can figure out a word scramble and have a little bit more fun with their session, and that would be active, then you will create a more meaningful session for your participants. If you allow them a choice, self-direction, if you make it clear why they're in the room right away, relevant to their work situation, then they're going to take more away from the session. So to ensure that the 4 principles of learning are incorporated into your course design, search out course agendas or ask your salesperson questions about the course design. Now, I've got a list right here that we created here in the Institute of helpful questions that you can ask when you're evaluating e-learning programs. And I'm going to go ahead. I know that you guys have probably already started browsing that. You can scroll down and look at that yourself, but I'm going to go ahead and share this file with you guys. So if you want to download that now, feel free. You have to select it by clicking on the file and then click on the download button. But this includes 7 questions. These are questions that I myself use as a designer when I am in the midst of a project and I want to make sure that I am reaching all the 4 principles and that I am doing so in a logical and sequential way. Believe it or not, all of these things are possible to have in an online environment, and you should know if they're designed in your course. Now, Nanette said something, the quote that I showed you guys earlier, and since you should have all had a chance to download that file, I'm going to take that away now. Let's go back to Nanette Miner's quote. Good instructional design is good instructional design. The modality is adaptable. That means asynchronous or synchronous. Asynchronous means e-learning that is not live. it is done, some people say computer-based training, and synchronous is live e-learning. Asynchronous training, it has grown leaps and bounds and is amazing. The virtual classrooms that I've seen out there are amazing and and do have the opportunity to create real results. At the Lifecycle Institute right now, we are focusing primarily on live online training, and I will tell you guys a little bit more about our offerings at the end of the session. But for now that we've gone through the 4 principles of learning, and now that we've gone through what a good learning objective is, I just want you to remember these 2 things from this session. Get the right learning objective. Ask some deep diving questions about the course design. Does it reach the 4 learning principles? So it looked like we might have lost someone in the midst of this session. I'm hoping that we only lost those 2 people. We told people the participant ID to get into the call if we lost you. Now it's time for you guys to ask some questions of me. I'm going to give you a second to go ahead. We're just doing questions via chat today. So if you guys have any specific questions, send them to all participants, or you can just chat them directly to me, but send them to all participants in chat. While you guys are coming up with your brilliant questions, I want to share a few resources with you. You can write down any of these numbers that you can reach us with, or these email sites, but I also want to go ahead and show you. I'm going to go ahead and take you to the LCE site. And it should be sharing. And I will get right to that question. Now, I want to show you guys our new eInstitute product offerings. Since our topic today was live online classes, I wanted to show you our eInstitute site. This shows you our upcoming courses. If you scroll down, we've got 2. One that I and Bill Wilder lead, and one that Darren Wyckoff leads, which is Leadership for Reliability Excellence. Classes start September 10th. I also urge you to go to our resource library, check out our articles, and sign up for our e-newsletter, which should be always on the right-hand side, some buttons where you can click and sign up for our e-newsletters. And we also have a Reliability Excellence blog. This is a great resource. We contribute to these resources at least weekly. We have about 5 contributors. So we invite you to read and post. And now I'm going to click out of here because I have some questions. First one is, how can we be sure we are selecting the right learning objective for our team? Well, that's interesting. First, make sure that the course topics and the learning objective align to meet a business need. We have a map that we like to use, which is called an impact map, where we can see the learning objective, and then we actually take some time to map out the certain business benefits that, if those objectives were met, if the participants came away being able to do what the class promises they'll be able to do, what kind of business benefits are we able to gain? If you can't make that direct connection between the new skills and some business benefit or a goal, it could be a soft goal, but also hard numbers and show me the money is always best. If you can't make that connection, then it's probably not the right program for you. But just by going through this exercise, by trying to match a learning objective and those skills to a business benefit, means that you're engaged and you have a purpose to attend the training before class. So going through that exercise definitely creates a heightened awareness of why the participant is there during the class and invigorates them to ready to try new learning. So what e-learning system is LC using? Well, Frank, I think I'm going to have to ask you a question instead. Because we're doing, if you mean a LMS, which would be a learning management system, we are using a couple of different hybrid solutions. Right now, we're primarily focused on using WebEx currently, along with our CRM system. So we have the events management system in there, and we are tracking all of we have a specialized module in our CRM that is particular for curriculum and classroom student management. So as far as technology goes, that's how we are monitoring it now, and then we have a document control system that controls all of our classes. So I hope that answers your question. With regards to our live classes, they are going to be held for the next few months via WebEx. Okay, it looks like, Tom, do you have any experience with online courses that precede teleconferences? This seems like it would help our executive group that has difficulty going through a number of read-aheads prior to the call. Yes, we do. Actually, the leadership for RX, I believe we do ask people to come to the class having read one very short article. But all of our online classes are 2 hours in duration. This capitalizes on that executive time with very specific learning objectives. We also are proponents of blended solutions, which means that we have some elements of the course that are delivered online. We have some elements of the course that are self-study, and then we have classroom elements and or coaching. And we've found that those blended solutions, especially if there are a large amount of objectives and if the objectives are more action-based or if the objectives are much more complex, then we find a blended solution is the best way to meet those. That would include, like I said before, self-study, some online, and some in-person and coaching. One last question, then we have to go. Thank you so much for attending. What is your opinion about when to use live online training and when to use computer-based training? That's a really good question, and there are a lot of differing opinions on the topic. The latest opinion from the learning leaders that I've researched and worked with, and what I've found personally is that the asynchronous environment is really appropriate for focusing on some of the lower elements of cognitive learning, is a lot of recall, description, unless there are some really nice scenarios. And I know that some of our designers are doing some really high-level, intense scenario-based asynchronous learning. So that just takes a lot more question. But just-in-time training and strengthening prior learned material, I think, is also very strong for asynchronous. Synchronous environments, I think, are appropriate for some of the higher-level learning, the doing, the evaluation, the creating new concepts and skill building. And I do think that those are best reinforced with some classroom learning as well as some asynchronous. And I think Andre has the best one, has a really good approach too. Broad-based approach, and when you need some detail instruction sets. That's fabulous feedback, Andre. Couldn't have said it better myself. So guys, that is the end of this webinar. I really appreciate you joining me today and participating. Thank you so much for your attention, and please contact the Life Cycle Institute and the E-Institute for any other questions you have about our new live online products. Thank you.